Avibiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurita Jana. Two lives that are scorched by the threefold miseries, your words are like nectar. They are auspicious to hear. They destroy sin. They are praised by the seers. Those who spread thy words, O Lord, are the real benefactors of this world. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we are on page 494. The question was raised, through what devotion can we realize God? And the Master says, three kinds of bhakti, devotion, are found according to the nature of the person. Satwik bhakti, Rajasik bhakti, and Tamasik bhakti. Yeah. So there are three types of devotion. We are not talking about an attitude, the attitude of a child to its mother, like that of a friend with another friend. God is my friend, or I am the servant. These are the other five moods in the scriptures also mentioned in the. Then the attitude of peacefulness, a peaceful bhakti, devotion. And then looking upon God as a child. It's a Vatsalya bhakti. That is one of the highest, where the glories of God are all eliminated, and you have God as like a child, helpless, and you've got to take care of that. And then we have the Madhura Bhav, the sweet relationship between, like, as if love between two lovers. Very intimate, very close, very secret, very profound. So these are the five types of bhavas, as they are called. Shanta, and Dasya, and Sakya, and Vatsalya, and Madhura. And Apatya, that is, like Sri Ramakrishna says, the child and the mother. God is the mother and the child. So we are talking about another basic structure of devotion. We're talking about Satwika devotion, Rajasika devotion, Tamasika devotion. Now these are the qualities that make up creation. According to the Sankhya philosophy and according to the Vedanta also, it is not qualities also. You can say these are the three triple forces that combine and recombine, the permutation, combination, and this whole universe is created out of these triple forces. The Sattvika is pure light, joy, peace. The Rajasika are the passion and the power and the brute force and everything that has kind of movement. And the Tamasika is lassitude, dullness, laziness, sleep, sloth, anger, greed, jealousy, all these kind of things. So they manifest as those three forces, they manifest in such qualities. So everything in this world is composed of these three qualities. Our bodies also are composed of these three. They are called gunas, qualities, or the nature, or the triple forces. You will not get them in isolation. One will predominate the other. There are some people who are predominantly satwika, and you have the other two forces or qualities held in kind of abeyance because this is dominant. There are some people with certain times of the day or night, one particular quality predominates. At other times, other qualities predominate. So we are a kind of a mixture of all these things. The mind also has these qualities. Like everything in nature, the mind also is within nature. So Sri Ramakrishna says there are these three types of bhaktis. Even knowledge, jnana, yoga, there, bhakti, karma, have got these three divisions. So all spiritual paths have these three qualities. A satwik yogi, as a Rajasik yogi, and Tamasik yogi, a satwik jnani, Rajasik jnani, and Tamasik jnani, etc., etc. So you will not find, if you try to kind of tease out those things from within your personality, they will not be, cannot be teased out and separated. They are the, as I say, the wrap and the woof of creation. They manifest in this form. They start with the very subtle rudimentary particles called tanmatras. In the state of just before creation can begin, all these triple forces are held in balance. And when creation begins, this balance is disturbed. And what we get is this world. Objects, certain objects are Tamasik and Rajasik or Satwik. Certain times of the day are Satwik or Rajasik or Tamasik. Everything. So there are nations that are either Satwik or Rajasik or Tamasik. Everything. So even bhakti has these three qualities. Sattva guna, Rajoguna, Tamaguna. Light and love and joy and knowledge and peace and Satwik. Rajasik is the drive, the passion, the kind of unstoppable, can say, restlessness that gives kind of diseases, etc. Bhagavad Gita also enumerates them in one specific chapter, and it spreads out its discussion in other chapters also. So certain people have a liking for certain types of food. So Sattvic people will eat certain types of food. Rajasic people will eat certain types of food. Tamasic people eat certain types of food. The choice of food, the choice of sleep, the duration of sleep, the duration of, you can say, work, everything can be pinned down to these three forces. Our personalities also are either Sattvic or Rajasic or Tamasik. It's a tremendous factor. Your ego also has got these three aspects, satwik and rajasik and tamasik. You just can't dispense with it. You'll say, what's the ego also has this? Yes, the ego also has these three qualities. And you see, when we talk about the ego kind of individuality, it's not something kind of hanging in the air or hanging somewhere inside. And, I will grab this ego and catch this ego, and then I will say, oh, now I'm going to kill you. You can't. That's reserved for the ultra, you can say, spiritual athletes. The ego is embodied. It has to be embodied. So what does it embody itself with? With the subtle body, with the causal body, and with this gross body. So whatever we do, we have these three forces that are dictating everything we do. There are many things we say, oh, I'm just feeling a little charitable today. I'll do some charity. Actually, it is the nature of this prakriti, these three qualities are dictating what you're going to do, what you're going to say, what people are you're going to meet. Everything. What food are going to eat, what types of, you can say, soft drinks or hard drinks you like, it's all dictated by the gunas. You think you're doing it. The Bhagavad Gita also says that these three gunas are doing everything. A fool says, I'm doing it. So when Sri Ramakrishna says satwik bhakti, rajasik bhakti and tamasik bhakti, so then he starts enumerating what is satwik bhakti, rajasik bhakti and tamasik bhakti. Satwik bhakti is known to God alone. It makes no outward display. This is very important. So you know and God knows. You have built a relationship with God. There are many people who outwardly will seem so irreverent without any kind of bhakti or anything like that. But they say the still waters run deep. So when bhakti becomes extremely profound, there is hardly any display outside. It's very deep. It cannot be kind of explained to other people. So he's saying it makes no outward display. He's saying what is Satwik Bhakti is known to God alone? Yeah, it's known to God alone. God knows. Yeah, this guy, he loves me. Is God kind of partial? So in the Bhagavad Gita also is saying there are four classes of devotees. Now devotees who have done good deeds. Chaturvida bhajate mam jana sukritino. Sukrita means good deeds, devotees. Artho artati jignasu jnani cha bharata. So there is those who are afflicted, those who seek wealth and this and that and needs, they go to God. It's better to go to God than to go anywhere else. Yeah. There's a story. So there was a fakir. Fakir is a holy man. Specifically in Islam, the holy men are called fakirs. The fakir had gone to beg alms. They beg alms from people. So he goes to the palace of the great Emperor Akbar. So Akbar just kind of signals to him, I'm doing my prayers. After I finish my prayers, I'll attend to your needs. So the fakir waited, and he heard Akbar praying to God, to Allah, give me more wealth, give me more territory, give me more this, give me that. So the fakir got up and was leaving. So Akbar again signaled to him, I haven't finished my prayers. He's not a king, he's an emperor. He was an emperor of India, and during that time, India was one of the richest nations in the world. And his fame was everywhere. He was called Akbar the Great. Because of his piety, mainly also. So after Akbar finishes his prayer, so he's saying, dear sir, you were leaving without accepting anything from me. Saying, why should I beg from a beggar? I found you yourself begging from Allah more wealth and more name and more fame and more power and more territory. So I decided, if I have to beg, I'll beg from Allah only. Why should I beg from you? So this is it. These guys, the satwik guys, they will pray to God only. They will not pray to any other people, any persons. Give me this, give me that, give me... And they won't go to God and say, oh God, give me this. I've got a headache today, God. Do something about my headache. They're not going to ask for some stupid things. So this is the relation. So these are the class of devotees called the Gyanis, the knowers, the knowledgeable. And in the very next verse, the Lord says, Tesham Gyani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhakti Priyohi, that these Gyanis are dear to me. They are more dear. They are all dear, but the Gyani is more dear. Why? Because that Gyani, the person of knowledge, is my very self. That is why. So God is not partial and all these things. God is impartial. But this Gyani has become the Lord's own self, as it were. This is Satwik Bhakti. So these 4 types of devotees of good karma, they worship God, but out of them. So this person of Satwik Bhakti is known to God alone. It means that person's devotion has endeared himself or herself to God. God become God's own self. It makes no outward display. A person with such devotion loves privacy, or privacy, whatever you like to say. Perhaps he or she meditates inside the mosquito net. Yeah, mosquito net. What is mosquito net? You get it in Asia, in India especially. When you in the evening, there's a swarm of mosquitoes. You might as well. Otherwise, they'll finish you off. They'll finish you off in meditation, finish off your sleep. So you string a mosquito net and you so that Satwik person, he's quiet about his devotion and so he loves to keep his or her own thoughts of devotion to himself. Sometime back, somebody was, we have to do counseling also. And saying, yeah, I have seen this and I've seen that and I've seen this. And I'm trying to explain that if you've really seen this or that, spiritual things, you keep quiet. That means there's something wrong. You might be delusional also. They never liked this idea, but you've got to tell what is true, not try to compromise with anything. So nobody sees that person when that person meditates. Well, when you go to a temple, like, everybody sits down and together and prays, worships and meditates and all. That's a different. That is not the whole story. The real story of devotion is when you and God are there alone. And where? In your own heart. See, it is natural to love. Everything is a display of love. Every movement in life and society and everything is display of love. So, that love is natural to all beings, not only human beings. We think, oh, it's only human beings. No. In fact, human beings make a hideous kind of caricature of this love business. So this love is there in everything, in birds and animals and even plants. So this love is directed now only to God and within your own being, your own self. So there is no display at all. So Sri Ramakrishna, when this kind of devotion is awakened, one hasn't long to wait for the vision of God. There it is. When you have such satwik, people are slothful and, they bicker and they criticize and this and that, and suddenly saying, I'm so spiritual. No, that won't do, because the manifestations of that qualities are different. So, this, you are just with your chosen ideal. You know, God knows. And God really knows, of course. So when this kind of devotion is awakened, one hasn't long to wait for the vision of God. So first comes this devotion. So Sri Ramakrishna says, first comes steadfastness, nishtha. From nishtha comes devotion, bhakti. From devotion comes bhava, a spiritual kind of awakening that makes you feel you are spirit. The people say, you lead a spiritual life. Yeah. Very good, lead a spiritual life. But how do you lead a spiritual life? And what is spiritual life? Oh, you see, we have to do this and this and this and this and this. Okay. Breathe 20 times from the nose. Sit down with that Matsya asana and Kurma asana. Go to the temple 20 times a day. Is that devotion? Unless you don't think of yourself as a spiritual entity, you're still struggling for spirituality. You think of yourself as a material entity, and you think, I'm going towards spirituality. So spiritual life succeeds when you have a complete, you can say, reassessment and a reperception of yourself. I am a spiritual entity. Okay, I have put on the clothes of matter. That's okay. It doesn't matter. So my spiritual practices will now be to cut through this covering of matter that's there. I am a spiritual entity. This is very, very important in devotion, in yoga, in knowledge, and this and that. People have some very kind of strange ideas about devotion and all. But if this is not taken care of fundamentally, you have to think of yourself as a soul. Now you start. And every time you forget, you bring that, I'm a soul. Then becomes what you call as spiritual life and spirituality. Or you're meditating 20 hours a day. Oh, very good. So spiritual. A guy thinks himself or herself as a material entity. Well, it's not going to help that way. Or it will, but it will take a longer time. So, think of yourself first as a spiritual entity and do whatever you want to. Like Sri Ramakrishna says, tie the knot of Advaita in the corner of your cloth and do whatever you want to. What does it mean? That knowledge that you are a soul has to be kind of kept there. Why tied? In India, we used to have the cloth, tied. They should tie things in their kind of, sometimes coins and sometimes money and sometimes, that's a kind of a cultural thing. Like we have pockets. In India, we never had any pockets. We used to tie those things in the corner. And now and then you touch that, you see, if nobody has picked that cloth. So keys and this and that used to be tied here. Women used to tie it at the end of their sari. Men used to tie it at the end of the dhoti also. So once you, now and then you, it's there, it's kind of. Now, once you have that thing, okay, it's there. Now I'm going to do whatever I want to. Whatever it means, spiritual things, of course. You know, whatever thing. So this is important. You must think of yourself as an entity, a spiritual entity. So then he says, the appearance of dawn in the east shows that the sun will rise before long. So, people who wake up early, they know, okay, yeah. People who wake up late and say, oh, it's already morning. They have skipped the dawn. It's still dark, and then the sky is getting lighter and lighter. It's a beautiful time, And then it's dawn, and then slowly the sun rises. Then you can see the sun. So when it's dawn, you know the sun is going to rise. So similarly, when this steadfastness becomes devotion, devotion becomes bhava, and bhava becomes mahabhava. So we must have first that steadfast, nishtha. It's called ishta nishtha. Nishtha, bhakti, bhava, mahabhava. So when you see steadfastness in a person, you know that the vision of God is not far away. Or that person can evaluate himself or herself. Yeah, in sickness and in pain, in misery and in kind of happiness, I'm going to stick to this. What happens? It becomes part of your mental and physical life. If that is not there, then no devotion will rise. So much of japa, so much of charity, so much of going to the temple, giving this and that, and all going to the pilgrimage, that all constitutes what is called nishtha. So as we keep on doing this, your body and mind is being transformed, and the transformation takes a thing called satwika bhakti. I don't want anything, I just want to see you. This is satwika bhakti. Love for love's sake. Why do you have to love God? Why do you love God? Stupid fellow. See, he gave up such nice things in life and he's closing his eyes and muttering to himself. What is this? So Yudhishthira, one of the 5 brothers, the greatest, you can say, hero in the Mahabharata. So his wife was Draupadi, the queen. She asked, how you, as so pure and moral and spiritual person, how did you suffer so much? And why do you still love God? So Yudhishthira tells Draupadi, it was during those last days, when they have left everything and they are walking towards the Himalayas. In the old days, it was like that. Nowadays, people, they are old and, they are worn, they have dementia, and they have this and that, and multiple sclerosis, and they are still clinging on to this is mine, that is mine, this is mine, that is mine. In India, they say, get out, get going out. You had enough of this. So they used to have something called vanaprasthi. Leave the children to themselves and you get out. You had enough of this kind of life. Go out. So they knew that the old and the new generation will quarrel. They will fight. They get out. And they used to go out as vanaprasthi. Vana is forest. Prasthana is to go, the going to the forest. So they used to go in their old age, which is today called old age. In those days, we will call it middle age. You had enough of this now. Go. So they used to go. And there were those who used to go further and leave that forest and go towards the Himalayas. And walk and walk and walk and walk and walk till you fall. And then it doesn't make a difference where you fall. So they were going this Mahaprasthavana, the great going. And so Draupadi asked him, so he's saying, see these Himalayas, my queen, they do not give me anything, but my nature is to love the great and the grand and the beautiful. So I love them. Similarly with the Lord. The Lord, why should the Lord give me comfort and this and less troubles? My nature is to love God. I love God. So this is the great lesson for all of us. This is Satvika Bhakti. We might as well complete the other two. A person with Rajasik Bhakti feels like making a display of his or her devotion before others. There it is. Worships the deity with 16 ingredients. That Shodashopachara. That is, there's so many things. Enters the temple wearing a silk cloth and puts round the neck a string of Rudraksha beads interspersed here and there with the beads of gold and ruby, etc. Kind of a display, an external display of devotion. Yeah. You'll find this thing. In India also you'll find, don't worry. You have to find, the huge marks here, there, everywhere. But those marks are actually not marks to display your devotion. Those marks are kind of symbolic. This is what I represent and this is what I am. In India it was, look at that person's marks on the forehead. And so you don't ask, what religion do you believe in? What deity do you believe in? Nobody asks like that. These are kind of silly things that you find here. There, you can see. Like Swamiji says, see, it's on my forehead. Don't ask what deity I worship. No, it's there. So these are external symbols. But then in Rajasika Bhakti, I remember one time, I was standing in front of the mother's image at Dakshineshwar. Okay, there's a inside Sanctum Sanctorum. There's a small passage outside where devotees will come in a kind of queue and offer things to the deity in the hands of the priest, and the priest will take it and I was under the barricade, and I was standing because I wanted to stand there for a long time, because I know if I got in the queue, then I would have to be pushed out. Get up, go, quick. How was that? I now and then got distracted by people with their display of, you can say, wealth, that they want to show how great devotees they are. So, poor people, they are coming with their small offerings. And the rich people with big baskets of offering. Yeah. And the priest also, come, hey, get it. As if a big basket will please God more. But they have to make a display. I've got more devotion than you because my basket is big. Basket of offerings. So there is a display, an external display of devotion. And he gives the example, like you have the Rudraksha. Like, these are the beads, the sacred beads. The Rudraksha is generally worn by Shaivas, the worshippers of Shiva, and Shaktas, the worshippers of the Devi. So and Rudra is Rudra, Shiva. Aksha is eyes of Shiva. Okay? They say that they came from the tears of joy of Shiva. It fell down and it became trees and small kind of hard seeds. They are used as beads for rosaries, also to be worn around the neck and all that. So it depends on the type of, you can say, Panchamukhi, Ekamukhi and all these, they have certain kind of markings on them. They are considered to be very, you can say, more holier than the other types of beads. So they will wear a silk cloth and put around the neck Rudraksha bead interspersed with the ruby, or you can say golden, you can say beads. Tamasik bhakti now. A person with Tamasik bhakti shows the courage and boisterousness of a highway robber. Highways, we have the freeways. We don't have. And even in the old days, like they were bandits, and they were called thugs. In India especially. Of course, it was old. It was all over the world. Like even Swamiji says, in Europe we have these robber barons. They used to come down from the castle and rob people and then go out. And they were the robber barons. And people want to trace a lineage to such robber barons. In India, we want to trace a lineage to some sage. So they used to rob this, lay in wait near the highways, freeways, whatever, and then rob people. So they are like that, the courage and boys, they are kind of desperados. A highway robber goes on his expedition openly shouting, kill, plunder, kill, maro, kato. He isn't afraid of even 8 police inspectors. The devotee with Tamasik bhakti also shouts like a madman, hara hara, bom bom, victory to Kali. He has great strength of mind and burning faith. This is what it is. So Sri Ramakrishna had advised satwik bhakti overlaid with tamasika bhakti. That kind of vigor is needed. That kind of drooling, weeping. And Swamiji also didn't like this kind of weepy-waily devotion. Sri Ramakrishna himself has said, see, he's got a huge capacity. When an elephant enters into a small pond, there's a huge splash, kind of water. But when it enters into a big lake, there's hardly a ripple. So when your devotional capacity is large, any small kind of awakening is not going to make much difference to that person. The person can be steady like that. So this person with Tamasik bhakti, there were these, you can say, highwaymen. If you remember Holy Mother's life, there were these husband and wife. They come and they accost Holy Mother, who was lagging behind her companions had gone for. She was frightened. It was dark, and these people come and they say, who's that? And of course, that's another story. But they used to waylay people, travelers especially. Narada was kind of waylaid by Ratnakara, who later became Valmiki. We have the story. So they have burning faith. That faith is not kind of softy. Slow, weep and weep and weep and weep. No, what? Sri Ramakrishna says, a Shakta has such faith, a worshipper of Devi. He says, what? I have uttered once the name of Kali and Durga. I have uttered once the name of Rama. Can there be any sin in me? This is what it is. Tremendous faith is there. Oh, I'm a sinner. Please forgive my sins. I have done this and that. Keep quiet. Stop all this rubbish. Take your misery outside somewhere. Don't bring it to God. Have that faith. I have taken the name of God, Rama once, Kali once. What? What sin? What rubbish are you talking? Sin. And Sri Ramakrishna is very clear. He who keeps on thinking of sin becomes a sinner. He had asked somebody to open one book, I think it's the Bible. And then he read and said, hey, wait, stop. Sin. What sin? Wait. See, the wretch who thinks of sin becomes a sinner. Think you're God's child, and you become God's child. So this is what such burning faith is necessary. The Vaishnavas have a very humble and lowly attitude. Looking at Balram's father, Balram Bose, his father was there, saying, they tell their rosary and whine and whimper, oh Krishna, be gracious to me. We are wretched. We are sinners. There it was. Sri Ramakrishna wanted that kind of whining and really. So what if I have done that? I've taken the name of God. That itself is enough. A person should have such fiery faith as to be able to say, I have uttered the name of God. How can I be a sinner? This is what is needed in today's world. Sometimes what happens, preachers and even religions, they harp on, you are a sinner. They frighten you with dire consequences. You sin, you are going to hell. You will be eternally fried forever and ever. Amen. They never speak about the other side. This is what is important. This is what religion should be teaching. It should be teaching woman's goodness and strength and morality, the inherent. Constantly harping on sin and sin and sin. You're a sinner. You've done something, you're a sinner. Oh, what? Sin? What sin? And that's the kind of a permanent thing. Not only that, some religions say, you are born a sinner. What did I do? What mistake did I do? No, you are born a sinner. Oh my God. Imagine all the possibilities of that soul are completely destroyed. So that's why he's saying a person should have such fiery faith as to be able to say, I have uttered the name of God. How can I be a sinner? This is today's message of the gospel. Believe in yourself, believe in the existence of God. People say, is there a God? So I counter it by saying, do you exist? Yeah, I exist. If you exist, then God exists. They say, oh, really? But we don't see Him. Yeah, you don't see many things. Do you see love or compassion? Is it kind of hanging around in the air? No. There are certain intangible things. But there are disciplines to attain to that vision. What is that vision? This bhakti. And the bhakti that has been built on this sure kind of assurance. I'm a child of God. I've taken the name of God once. How can I be a sinner? All that kind of rubbish. It's kind of a negative teachings. And people have been preaching this kind of things over and over again. And people, they lose their faith in themselves. Oh, what can I do? I am a sinner. What can I do? I'm a sinner. And the whole thing is how to avoid those future consequences. Eternally fried in hell. It's like barbecued. Nicely. Nicely turn the barbecue and over again. So imagine this kind of frightening people. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna is teaching you. Have faith in yourself, have faith in God, have faith that you have taken this, his name, her name, once God's name, and all sin and all petty things will leave you. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Tomorrow 7:30 we have the Bhagavad Gita given by Swami Satyamayananda. Friday we have Living Wisdom readings from Swami Abhedananda by Swami Atma Tattvananda and Atma Vidananda. And Sunday we have a special service, Sunday special services by Vedarupananda. Saturday, of course, morning meditation. Meditation skills for meditators. So we are going to look at the 3 types of space. When a person does meditation, or when a person meditates, one has to know these 3 factors. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti